Well, hello and welcome to Solid Jamaz. This is a show for men. The word solid, you know what it means. It means substance, means foundation. Jamaz is a Swahili slang word that means the brothers, the comrades. And so this is a show for men. And we do believe that conversations will always instruct. Conversations will reveal, they will inform, they will inspire, and they will motivate us. And today, more than anything ever, men need to engage in conversations that will help us to grow and to get to the desirable stature in this world. And therefore, Solid Jamaz offers a safe place where we can come and we can discuss our things. Catch an episode every single Monday of the week. And if you have anything that you want us to discuss, you can reach us out on solidjamaz@gmail.com, or you can check us out on any of our social media pages, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. And we'll have these conversations going on. It's a conversations for men. Enjoy the show.
Talking about you, and there goes my heart running after you, and it's running after you. Oh why, yeah. Oh why, yeah.
So if you are a man who therefore needs other people to validate you, it actually means that you are at the mercy of this powerful spouse.
Wow.
And she's the one who is supposed to come back to you and whisper to your ears and tell you that, you are good enough, you are man enough, even though I may have this or that, it is ours, even though I may be in this particular, position, this position is ours. So if she does not tell you that, it eats you up. And again, it is not all the women who also got the proper training, grounding, and nurturing to be able to espouse that.
Wow. But to be fair, we all need that, yes. Isn't it? At some level, we all need, not necessarily when we are needy, but even when I am the one who is bringing home the bacon and I'm the one who is paying the bills and so on, don't I need some kind of appreciation, validation, those kind words?
You need appreciation, you need validation, you need affirmation, you need some reciprocity once in a while.
Yeah.
But the point is,
you're not depending on it.
Do you need it? Do you depend on it, or do you deserve it?
Right.
Because we all deserve a pat on the back.
Yeah.
We all deserve a thank you. We all deserve a nice word in the morning.
Yeah.
So you get it because you deserve it. You don't get it because you depend on it, such that if you don't get it, then your day
you're
is
lost.
ruined.
Yeah.
Your mood is ruined. Your attitude is ruined. Your energy is ruined. You
Powerful.
can't function because you didn't get that.
I get you. I get you. So now, this is rich. This is absolutely rich. I know you are doing quite a number of things, and I just want us to maybe, as a man,
to touch it, maybe even pat it, slap it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so they value physical touch. Why? Because they want to touch the woman.
Yeah.
Now, if that woman does not understand that this man values that physical touch, they will say, this guy is objectifying me.
Whoa.
But
I get the point. You see, what I'm hearing you say is that the giving part ministers as much as the receiving, isn't it? For example, let's say my lover's love language is not receiving gifts, but I can't help but buy gifts for them. Yes.
It energizes you.
Right. That's what you're saying?
Yes, so you need to give so as to validate yourself by yourself. But again, she needs to know what she needs to do for you.
I hear you.
And on the flip side of it, you also need to know
what I need to do
what
for
she
her.
does that is good to her,
and
what she would like to receive.
Yeah. Oh.
So
It's like
giving of physical touch, and I'm closing with that.
Yeah.
Is that a man may appreciate to want to throw his hands around the woman.
Yeah.
But it should not be very surprising to you to find that putting your hands around that man does not necessarily mean that is what gets him.
Yeah.
His satisfaction is in him touching you.
Yeah. Whoa.
So you may easily read and say, because this guy likes to touch me, when I touch him back, I'm done with him. The satisfaction may not be in your touch, but in his touching of you.
That's deep. Yeah, I think
you
that's...
need to understand whether what feeds him, whether when he touches, it is what he gives, and then you also need to find out what...
Natafuta ufalme wa Mungu na utakatifu wake, na vitu vyote vile vizuri nitaongezewa. Kama ugali sosa uwezi pewa ugali sosa, kama bado hujanunua, basi mwenzangu mtafute Mungu, utaongezewa ugali sosa. Kuna hoteli ambayo miuenda kukamata ugali na supu ya magoti. Mara tu mlima wa ugali ukifika, naanza kufanya testi za Muluya. Ya kwanza na finya ugali, inachomoka pande zote za mkono. Ya pili na vumba ugali, tupa kwa ukuta, narudi kama tennis. Ya tatu na puliza ugali, na mashi nyeupe inaenda spiral. Ugali inapata certificate.
And those are the words and the sounds of Mr. Leopard Ingwe. That is his brand. He's a leading gospel musician from Kenya, East Africa, who is widely known in Kenya for his celebrated song Ugali Sosa and other songs including Wrong Number, BodaBoda Yangu, and Mulika, Mwizi. Some of the songs that we've sampled in this episode today. You're gonna enjoy them, and I warn you, the breaks will be abrupt into the songs. He is releasing his 20 years anniversary album this year, but this man, the reason as to why we had a discussion with him on Solid Jamas is that he is a parenting enthusiast, having been married to Susan and a parent to 2 teenage sons and 1 7-year-old daughter. Mr. Leopard has also ventured into farming and real estate, spanning over 10 years now. He is also a politician with interest in Kakamega County. He also does political analysis on both national and global politics, on TVs and on radios, and much of his deep thinking masterpieces are available on his YouTube channel, which is Mr. Leopard TV. He is a pastor and a worship leader who doubles up as a thera coach. He will tell us what a thera coach is, helping people to overcome life challenges and heal emotionally and spiritually. His latest venture is in herbal medicine, where he is still building his authority in the sector with varieties of medicinal discoveries. The conversation today was on different topics, a la carte here and there, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, whatever place it is you're tuned on to Solid Jamas. This is a show for men. It's been a while, and this is going to be episode number 30 incoming since this year, last year, I can't remember, maybe since last year. Today is going to be an interesting one because I'm having a phone conversation with a brother from another mother, a man from... Where is this place you come from, my friend?
Kakamega.
I want the village. I want the name of the village.
Ingotse.
Ingotse. Yeah. How are you doing?
Yeah, Ingotse. I'm doing great, my brother. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Good, and this life has been good too.
Yeah. You're a bit faint, but let's see how it's going to go. So tell me, are you in?
Was it faint from the beginning?
Yeah, it was a bit faint from the beginning.
I just hope we'll pull through. This has to go through. No two ways about it, my man.
Yeah. Cool. So are you in Ingotse, or where are you at this moment in time?
No, right now I'm in Kajiado County.
Yeah.
I have a home in Kitengela.
Okay.
And yeah, Kitengela is domiciled in Kajiado County. It's not far from the airport.
Yeah.
So that's where I am right now. You know, I shuttle between the two places. I have interests in Ingotse. I have interests here.
Right.
Within the Nairobi metropolis.
Yeah.
And also outside of Nairobi, but I don't think it's necessary to bring that up.
That's okay. So, man, you know, we need to talk about manhood in this episode, and probably there could be a different topics we can be able to discuss here and there. But let me ask you a question: is there a difference between you and Daddy?
Between me and
your father?
There are elements where there is difference, and there are elements where there is no difference.
Yeah.
So the difference between me and my father is simply the fact that the perspective through which I look at him and espouse him is that he is a parent, so he has a certain degree of authority. He has certain roles of mentorship, advice, but mostly everything has to do with the place of authority. Because and now where I look at him the same is that I'm now a parent, so I also have authority over somebody.
Yeah.
And I also have the responsibility to mentor, to protect, to provide, to advise, to lead, to listen, to counsel, to encourage, to give hope, and all that put together. So the difference between me and my father is just the pedigree. He holds a higher pedigree than me when it comes to me. And I think the same is true between I and my son. But collectively, we are carved from the same stone, almost fulfilling the same mandate of manhood and fatherhood.
Yeah.
And generally just doing what the male species was designed to uphold.
Yeah, we're going to talk about what the male species were designed to do shortly. But let me ask you again about father. Your father, you sure? I'm sure that your parenting, now that you're a parent, is totally different from his parenting. I mean, the way he raised you is totally different from the way you're raising your son.
True.
What's the difference?
The difference could be as many as the perspectives that you take.
Yeah.
So I'll take three main differences. So for example, I would say that during his time, there wasn't so much information available to him like it is to me now. I know a little more, so I know better. That's one. Number two, I would say that there was more conflict. There was more ideological conflict during his time than it is my time. So let me explain that. So for example, my father grew up, he was born in 1944. So he grew up at the height of
the war,
colonialism. At the height of colonialism. So just when there was those kind of struggles, we didn't have independence, and therefore our sense of identity as a people was also neither here nor there. Those are the struggles and challenges, like identity crisis. Our people had a serious identity difficulties because that is when the whites were lording over us, telling us we are not good enough because we look different, because our culture is different.
Mm-hmm.
That is the time when everything that was nice about us was stripped off from us,
Mm-hmm.
when our good names were being called bad names, and then we were being given English names and being told they are Christian names.
Yeah.
And so if you have a native name that was a bad name, it meant bad things. It meant something horrible. And we were being told, without using those specific words, that our identity is dirty, our identity is bad, it's backward, it's primitive, it's uncivilized, it's, everything bad. So I honestly believe that my father grew up in that era.
Yeah.
And I have grown in a different era altogether, where I am in a good place. I appreciate who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I love who I am. I love my identity. I'm proud of everything that I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the world is a global village, so I appreciate different worldviews, but I have my own worldview that I love, I respect, I appreciate, and it makes who I am. And when yours is different from mine, I don't look at myself as a lesser being, or as somebody who is deprived of anything. So that makes the difference between him and me, and his time versus my time. But lastly, I would also say that while building up on information, I say that I believe that there is much more information available to me than was available to him. I would also say that the parameters that were used to measure success, the parameters that were used to measure whether somebody is growing up well, whether they are doing well, whether they are headed the right trajectory, whether they are making meaningful contribution to their own lives and the lives of those around them. I think the parameters were different then than it is right now. And I am in a place, for example, where I'm able to appreciate my children based on the gifts and talents that they have. I'm able to identify what they are good at, and I find that I value education. So education is like a constant, it's like a common denominator. But then atop there are their own natural giftings, their own competences, their own talents, and their own preferences and their likes, and those things that go hand in hand with their own personalities and those kind of things. So I do not think that my father's generation was more effectively endowed as my generation is. It doesn't mean that everybody even notices that, or everybody sees that, but it is a truth that exists for those who choose to exploit it.
Right. I hear you well and clear. There's some things that we do share, and we could even take a tangent in there and we just delve into them, but I don't want to. When you talk about your kids and their talents and their gifts and their uniqueness, it's something that I hold dear, but I don't want to go there. It's maybe a topic for another day. Earlier on, you talked about the what the man was designed to do in this day and in this age of gender fluidity going on. What's your take? Because you've just told us that you have your own standards, you have your own values, and you have your own worldview. In your opinion, if you're helping a man out there, maybe a guy coming up to be a father, a guy coming up to be a husband, and so on, what would you tell them would be that this is what the male was designed to do or to be?
Okay. I will start with their spiritual aspects of it. There are physical aspects of it that are predominantly unique, but there is also what I would call cultural dynamics. And cultural dynamics means that how a certain culture approaches or perceives certain aspects of a human being, or a male or female, may differ from another. And so even as I speak about them, I will try to have that caution. Just throwing it out there. For example, the Hindu community actually elevates the female species over the male species. They have many gods, small g. they have many gods for various items, the god of fertility, the god of health, the god of riches, and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But now, at the epitome of it, at the top echelon of their spiritual, like their spiritual value, I think the topmost among us then should be a female one, if I am not wrong. And so the female species is elevated to the extent that it is actually the female who pays dowry to the man. Now, when they come around here in Kenya, if you walk in their homes or if you walk into their business establishment, it is very easy for you to assume that when you see the man, that is the one who calls the shot. You will be very surprised that most of the times after you've had a discussion, they will not give you an affirmative position until they have spoken to their wives.
Whoa.
So when I talk about, it is a truth. When I talk about the cultural dynamics, I am being cautious here that when I define or describe a cultural perspective, I've just decided to start from there since I've already begun. That when we discuss a cultural perspective, it does not mean that the things I say are universal. It is important to be understood that way.
Okay.
So if I am speaking to the African kid, the African male, or the African youth, or a contemporary man for that matter, and I'm speaking in the African context, so I was trying to explain that the male species has a certain cultural dynamic, and it is important for the male species to understand within the context of their culture what is expected of them. Because when you understand that, it does not mean that you are a slave of your environment, but it means you are a master of your environment.
Nice.
So what that means basically is that when you are with fellow men, you already know what they're expecting of you. And therefore, it becomes easier for you to meet their expectations. It becomes easier for you to flow together with them without breaking a sweat, because you understand that contextual cultural expectation of them. Also, when you are dealing with the female species, now, the cultural context has everything to do with what a fellow man will expect of you, but also what a female will expect from you. So if a female expects you within the context of your culture, a culture where that female also exists, they have a certain expectation of how you should behave, how you should talk, the moves you should make, the responsibilities you should take up. If a situation shows up and somebody needs to take the risk, somebody needs to dive in there and either save the situation or play hero, it is expected that the man is the one who is going to do that. It is a cultural expectation. If you understand that that is the expectation, it means that most at times you will find yourself on the right side of history, for lack of a better word. It simply means that the things you will do, how you will act, how you'll speak, how you'll respond, and how you will action yourself will find you hero most of the time, will find you a good guy most of the time, will find you a guy who has less of explanation, less to explain, less excuses, less battles, and less disappointment of people around you. And isn't that what makes life sweet and cool? That's the cultural aspect of it. Now, I will then come to the physical aspects. Physical aspects is that there is a way a man is created different from a woman,
right?
Generally speaking. So a man's attitude expect that the man would be masculine, the man would be strong. There are certain duties and responsibilities that would be a natural expectation of the people around you. For example, where I grew up in the village, it is expected that if you need firewood, the girl will go out and fetch firewood differently. And a man will take a log and start splitting the log. Why? Because splitting the log calls for a little more muscle. If there is something that needs lifting, it is said it is ungentle, it is unmanly for you to ask of a lady to come and lift the heavier thing. If we are offloading shopping from the car, it is expected that the lady will pick the lighter things, the very lighter of items, but the man is supposed to carry, the gas tank, the cooking gas.
Yeah.
The man is supposed to carry the bale of flour. The man is expected to lift the table while the girl could lift the chair. So those are physical attributes, and then understanding that is the societal expectation generally across board of how a man should conduct himself. So understanding that expectation is important. Understanding that your culture is set up to behave that way is important. Understanding that your friends and your people expect you to behave that way is different. Of course, there are deviations from it, but I have to finish the third point before I touch on deviations. I will then touch on spiritual. So spiritual, again, various religious perspectives might prescribe different things, but to a large extent, the man is prescribed to be the head of the family. The man is prescribed to be the priest. And priesthood does not necessarily mean that you are the most prayerful. It doesn't mean that you are the most righteous. It doesn't mean that you're the one who knows the most. It simply means that you are the fulcrum of that institution of family. And so when you get out of the equation, then there is a balance that is lost. So, for example, it is understanding that in that particular family, your wife and your children draw their inspiration of strength and protection from you. It means that whereas people will just walk into any other home and harass people, if you're the man of the house, nobody would think of that as a possibility, because they know that you will die to the last drop trying to defend that particular family and to protect that particular family. Yet, on the flip side of it, it is common, it is natural, almost expected that when a lady is confronted with those kind of situations, they want to run very quickly and stand behind their men, maybe even their sons who are men. So again, really, that's what all this means, that there is an elevation that the Creator has endowed you with, that they expect you to stand the high ground. They expect you to take the first position. They expect you to be there. So there is this man, he may not even necessarily be as financially endowed, but then he just needs to be there because the children need him as the figurehead. The children need him as the father of that particular home. There is something that you give, that you offer, that you provide, that your mother cannot give. And I'm not trying to say that what the mother gives is less. We are talking about manhood. So I am simply saying that what you offer as a man to that family, what you offer as a man to your children, both daughters and sons, what you offer even to your husband, to your wife, is something that their father cannot give them. It is something that their brothers cannot give them. It is something that the mother of your children cannot give to them. The woman has what she gives, and again, it is not replaceable. The point is that everyone has their role and everyone has their unique contribution that they must give to the mix and to the equation. So can I close by just mentioning one or two deviations when I talk about manhood?
Our goal is to be a resource point of growth and safe space where men who are struggling can find a hug. Man can talk to man and become as iron sharpens iron, changing the countenance of his friend. And we want men to be there for each other in this treacherous journey that is a man's life. No man should struggle in the dark alone, and we intend to work with men who we view as wounded warriors to get back to their identity, to discover their innate potential as men, as husbands, as fathers, as leaders, because we believe that if the manhood challenge is solved in our generation, half the world's problems will also be solved.
Tafuta ufalme wa Mungu na utakatifu wake, na vitu vyote vile vizuri nitaongezewa. Kama Ugali Sosa uwezi pewa Ugali Sosa, kama bado hujanunua basi mwenzangu mtafute Mungu, utaongezewa ugali sosa. Kuna hoteli ambayo miuenda kukamata ugali na supu ya magoti. Mara tu mlima wa ugali ukifika, naanza kufanya testi za Muluya. Ya kwanza nafinya ugali, inachomoka pande zote za mkono. Ya pili navumba ugali, tupa kwa ukuta, narudi kama tennis. Ya tatu napuliza ugali, na mashi nyeupe inaenda spiral. Ugali inapata certificate. Waiter, leta sosa. Natafuta ufalme wa Mungu na utakatifu wake, na vitu vyote vile vizuri nitaongezewa kama ugali sosa. Uwezi pewa ugali sosa kama bado hujanunua. Basi mwenzangu mtafute Mungu, utaongezewa ugali sosa. Naanza kusakata ugali, na mega ugali hapo kwa ango thita. Halafu na mwana wepukulu, kumbe alikuwa pande ile ya meza. Waiter anamukaribia, anamuuliza nikupe nini bwana. Wepukulu anasema ugali sosa na kadhalika. Waiter anasema excuse me. Wepukulu anazusha, mabaunza wakambeba juu, wakamtandika. Chonga viazi. Ufalme wa Mungu na utakatifu wake, na vitu vyote vile vizuri nitaongezewa kama ugali sosa. Uwezi pewa ugali sosa kama bado hujanunua. Basi mwenzangu mtafute Mungu, utaongezewa ugali sosa. Sasa wasee iko hivi, tabia mbaya lazima tutawacha. Tunataka baraka zake Mungu, lakini tunakataa Mungu mwenye baraka. Tunataka tupate uponyaji, lakini tunakataa Yesu mwenye kuponya. Tunapenda sana miujiza, lakini hatumpendi Mungu mwenye kutenda. Ni lazima tutatubu wapendwa, tubadili mienendo, tumtafute Mungu. Ukidharau mambo hii nasema haki roho safi, utachonga viazi. Natafuta ufalme wa Mungu na utakatifu wake, na vitu vyote vile vizuri nitaongezewa kama ugali sosa. Uwezi pewa ugali sosa kama bado.
So understanding the fuller concept of manhood, the point where I began, it should have been the third, but I began with it, about the cultural perspectives of it, is, for example, you will go to a different culture. For example, I've spent quality time in the US, and the guys who live around there will agree with me to a large extent, because I found them making fun of this particular reality.
Yeah.
So the women were thought to be the weaker and the oppressed person. And a lot of effort was brought in the name of affirmative action to try and protect the woman, to try and secure the place of the woman, to try and achieve what they call equality. But along the way, they ended up oppressing the male species to such an extent that if you talk to a man, and I'm talking about the American society because that's where I've lived or where I've had opportunity to spend more quality time, I may not talk so much about the rest. You will find the men making a joke where they say that here in the land of opportunity, the first person who is given priority is the woman. Then the second priority goes to the child. Then the third priority goes to the dogs and cats. And the man comes number 4.
Okay.
And it is a truth to such an extent that if, for example, you had a quarrel with your wife, and that quarrel ended up to be loud that your neighbor could hear it, they would easily call 911 and the police will show up. And when the cops show up and they find you arguing in the heat of the moment, they would ask you, the man, to leave your house. Whoa. Why? Because it is assumed that if you two fight, your woman is more endangered and you are the one who has the advantage of masculinity, the physical aspects of a male.
Yeah.
So you will be asked to go out and you'll be told for the next 24 hours, don't be seen around this house, your house, you know. The house is even in your name. And you'll be told that for the next this number of hours, you should not be seen around that house. Well, it is assumed that the intervention is expected to give you opportunity to calm down from your anger and rage.
Yeah.
If you have issues with your child, the children are taught in school, just dial 911 and say, and then you'll be asked, is your father looking angry? Does he look like he will beat you up? And when you say yes, they might just be at your door. So in the process, so I was saying, in the process, the male species has ended up and turned around to be the oppressed figure. It is the man who has less voice and the woman has more voice. It is the man who is less protected, and the man is extremely exposed to such an extent that in most of those households, and I can say without fear of contradiction, in most of those households, it's the women who call the shots.
Yeah.
You see, the way in Africa, it is assumed, it is a given that the man has the final say.
Yeah.
That culture, to a significant extent, it is the women who have or who call the shots. So you'll be very surprised. In Africa, you will find it is the man who drives the V8, okay, and then he then buys like a car for
a Vitz,
or if both of them go out to buy the cars, you'll find it is the man who buys the much bigger car.
Yeah.
And the lady generally would go for the smaller car. They want to drive, even if it's a Mercedes, they want to drive the smaller version. Even if it's a Range Rover, they want to drive the smaller version. You will be surprised that if you go to this community that I'm talking about, it is the girls who drive the Range Rovers and the men drive the lesser cars. Whoa. It's the girls who drive the Mercedes Benz, and it is the men who drive, the lesser version of cars to a large extent.
Yeah.
Now, why am I saying all this? I'm saying all this so that if a man finds himself in that kind of an environment, then they need to understand that it is a cultural context.
Right.
And therefore, there may be certain things that they need to unlearn and relearn and then embrace. What I mean by that is that whenever you live in an environment where your conscience and your attitude is at war with your surrounding, you will not thrive. You will not perform well. Your systems will not function to favor you. Your system will not favor to maximize and optimize your potential. You are most of the time fighting with yourself. You have you have an internal crisis.
Yeah.
And if you do not understanding or the cultural understanding of your environment, then it actually means that half of your energy will be blocked from giving back to you and giving you success. Half of that energy would be locked trying to solve and to sort out that particular crisis. So, for example, and I'm closing that particular discussion with this example that I'm giving. So, for example, my father and the people who grew like another 20, 30 years before me, generally, the assumption of power was in the hands of the men, and the women did not have power. Women did not own land, they didn't own cars, they did not co-own property. They were not in political spaces, they were not CEOs of enterprise. It was a big thing to celebrate that you have the first woman who even has a PhD, or who is this and who is that. Now, that is not the trend. The trend is actually different, that at the workplace, you will find your CEO is a woman, your operations is a woman, your HR is a woman, head of marketing is a woman, and head of commercial is a woman. And the first man you meet is at the third tire in the company. So what do you do with that? My father, incidentally, had a working wife. He was a teacher and a pastor. But most of the households, the males were the working class and the females were purely homemakers and housewives. So if you grew up in that particular environment as a man, and now here you have a woman who is a working class, maybe earning more than you, maybe holding more portfolio in the corporate place than you do, and it is not how you grew up. You were never trained. Nobody prepared you
for
to
this.
still
Yeah.
be a man, to still have your head up high, to still have your ego in the right place, to still be the man who believes in himself, to be able to provide leadership for that house. Because what is happening here, it's like you see the okay. So I was saying the way traditionally the ruling of the monarch.
Yeah.
There are situations like Uganda right now.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the political presidency. I'm talking about the traditional Kabaka kind of ruler. Yeah. I think you have. I don't know what age he is right now. The last time I checked, he was just a kid.
He's 60 something, if I get my facts correct. Maybe towards 70.
No, I'm not talking about 70.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Kabaka.
How old is he now?
He celebrated, I think, his 70th or 69th birthday just last few months back.
But he got into power when he was a little boy, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. That he got into power as a little boy, and that is to mean that he didn't have the training, the experience, and the knowledge of how to play that particular role at that young age.
Yeah.
And the equivalent, which is the parallel that I'm trying to draw, is that the current man finds himself whereby maybe you are less educated, you are less empowered financially and in terms of resources, but then you find yourself married to a woman who is more educated, who has more money than you do, and who is at a higher standing, either in leadership or in the corporate place, and you are still expected to be a kabaka. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're still expected to be a kabaka, and it is very easy for this portfolio to crush you as a young kabaka. It is very possible for the demands, the expectations, and the mandate that comes with that particular portfolio to crush you. It is very possible for all these weight of you needing to, because now you ask yourself, so how do you be a parent in all this? How do you still remain the head of the house? How do you still remain the priest? How do you still remain the strong pillar that the family can look up to, when in actual sense you look like you are not that powerful after all? So all those are dynamics, because it means that the man has then to ask himself, how do you remain grounded even in such kind of a situation? How do you remain to be you without necessarily being manipulated to be something else that you are not? And you don't even have the capacity to be that which you are being manipulated to become, and the manipulation is circumstantial. How do you remain authentic? Because it is that authenticity that carries you through. It is that authenticity that delivers for the family. It is that authenticity that makes you strong. Anything that is not true, that is not authentic, will definitely break you at the end of the day.
Yeah, so the question will be, how does a man remain authentic given the situation that you've just painted, which is true? Increasingly, affirmative action is delivering a lot of empowered, quote-unquote empowered women out there for, grappling with a man who is, quote-unquote, not that empowered. What do guys do to remain authentic? Do they cede their leadership capacity or their design? What do they do about their identity? How do they balance this? How do they approach all this?
Okay, there's no one answer
that
will satisfactorily respond to that question, but I can try to just shed light. Because every situation may be unique, and every person's experience might be unique, because it matters what you're dealing with. It matters also the attitude and temperaments of your partner. It matters the environment that you are operating in. It also matters to what extent you feel self-validated, or whether you actually rely or depend on other people to validate you. So, for example, if you are in such a place whereby, as an individual, you don't have self-validation, you don't have self-love. Okay, so if you don't have self-love, and there are reasons that make you lack self-love,
Yeah.
if you need other people to validate you, and there are reasons that will make somebody feel like they need validation from their environment, if you are that kind of a person, it actually means that you will depend on this person who is more powerful than you, whom technically you are then competing with for power when you should not be competing, instead complementing each other.
Whoa.
It actually means that you will suffer more as opposed to the person who has self-love and who is self-validating. So, for example, let me, rather than throw out there a lot of complicated things, let me just be basic here.
Yeah.
So, for example, a man or a woman who grew up without feeling loved by their parents for who they are. If your father never appreciated you for who you are, instead he always kept comparing you with Lawrence, who was a better performer in class, and you used to come home with a C, while Lawrence came with a B, and then you are there for just end, you are told you're not good enough, you are called a joker, you are told you're not serious with life. You end up devaluing yourself.
Yeah.
You end up knowing that you are a class lower. You are not necessarily a low class, but you are class lower than the good. You know that you are not the it.
Yeah.
Now, that alone is sufficient to become a burden to you in your relationship, male or female, though we have the bias of male today.
Yeah.
So if you are a male and you grew up that way, it takes away your self-esteem. It takes away your self-confidence. Because what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is the ability to be confident about yourself.
Yeah.
It is the ability to know that I am good with my right hand and I'm not good with my left hand. So I will know when to use my left foot and when to use the right hand. It is the ability to be confident about your capabilities. When a situation comes before you, you are very sure that this one, I must get it to the end. I must push it off over the cliff. And for as long as you've not pushed it over the cliff, you know that you still have right in there, you still have the grit to get it done. It is the ability to know that on this particular one, I can only go this number of miles.
Yeah.
And for that reason, even if you go half the mile and other people go the extra mile, you are happy with your results because you know that that is your threshold. You know that that is your capacity. You know that that is who you are. So you are not fighting with people who achieved more than you. Instead, you are happy, you're confident, you are home with what you are able to do, and you know that it was the best you could do under the circumstances. And even if you pushed yourself some more, you probably would have broken your back.
Yeah. I get you.
Now, so as a man, if you have not been able to cultivate this, and self-confidence starts from the household, it starts from home. That is why people who are a little more advanced in the pursuit of knowledge, especially the area of psychology, they'll say, even if you spank your children, it has to be, in this prescription. It has to be in this manner. You do not need to beat them to a point where they feel defeated. You don't have to subdue them.
Yeah, they suffer.
You just need to let them know, understand that they were at fault.
Yeah.
Your actions attract consequences.
Yeah.
Don't do it for the purposes of subduing them.
Their personality becomes affected, and they start feeling weak and less than themselves.
Yeah. So if you are a man who therefore needs other people to validate you, it actually means that you are at the mercy of this powerful spouse.
Wow.
And she's the one who is supposed to come back to you and whisper to your ears and tell you that, you are good enough, you are man enough, even though I may have this or that, it is ours, even though I may be in this particular, position, this position is ours. So if she does not tell you that, it eats you up. And again, it is not all the women who also got the proper training, grounding, and nurturing to be able to espouse that.
Wow. But to be fair, we all need that. isn't it? At some level, we all need, not necessarily when we are needy, but even when I am the one who is bringing home the bacon and I'm the one who is paying the bills and so on, don't I need some kind of appreciation, validation, those kind words?
You need appreciation, you need validation, you need affirmation, you need some reciprocity once in a while.
Yeah.
But the point is,
you're not depending on it.
Do you need it? Do you depend on it, or do you deserve it?
Right.
Because we all deserve a pat on the back.
Yeah.
We all deserve a thank you. We all deserve a nice word in the morning.
Yeah.
So you get it because you deserve it. You don't get it because you depend on it, such that if you don't get it, then your day
you're
is
lost.
ruined.
Yeah.
Your mood is ruined, your attitude is ruined, your energy is ruined. You
Powerful.
can't function because you didn't get that.
I get you. I get you. So now, this is rich. This is absolutely rich. I know you are doing quite a number of things, and I just want us to maybe, as a man, let us talk about you and your hustle. Just maybe our listeners are very new to you. They maybe have never met you. First of all, you have a very unique identity. The way you're branding yourself, and there are very many things that you do that totally, there are things that you do that are scientific, and then there are things that you do that are totally artistic, and then there's a mixture of all that. Just as a man, who are you? What's your identity? What do you project out there? Our vision is that through our work, there will be a raising of a movement of godly, solid, covenant men who know themselves, understand their purpose, and are clear about their worth and responsibility to lead the nation's generations, one man to one son, passing on the authentic blueprint of a God kind of man.
Mkovero, leta tochi, enda huku. Mulika Mwizi, ndio huyo. Mulika Mwizi, naye atatoroka. Alikuja kuiba, kuharibu na kuua. Lakini Yesu alikuja tupate uzima tele na tele na tele. Wa milele. Mulika Mwizi. Alisema imeandikwa, tumwabudu Mungu pekee, tuishi kwa neno la kinywa chake Mungu Baba, simutie Mungu majaribuni, ukijua Shetani sasa alipomulikwa na neno, katoroka kamwacha Yesu, kaenda zake. Mulika Mwizi, naye atatoroka. Alikuja kuiba, kuharibu na kuua. Lakini Yesu alikuja tupate uzima tele na tele na tele. Wa milele. Mulika Mwizi. Katae Shetani, naye atatoroka. Mukimbilie ngome imara, utaokoka. Wacha tamaa ya usherati, njoo kwa Yesu okolewe. Wacha chuki na fitina, Yesu ainuliwe. Mpe Yesu maisha yako, Shetani aibike. Ulimwengu ni hasara, kwake Yesu ni faida. Mulika Mwizi, naye atatoroka. Alikuja kuiba, kuharibu na kuua. Lakini Yesu alikuja tupate uzima tele na tele na tele. Wa milele. Mulika Mwizi. Sasa wewe baba yangu, wacha yelo, mrudie mama mama watoto wanakuhitaji. Wacha keroro, wacha bangi, nangeta ndugu yangu, rudi kwake Mwokozi Yesu, shetani aibike. Mulika mwizi, upate uzima wa milele. Bwana Yesu amejawa rehema na neema tele. Mulika mwizi, naye atatoroka. Alikuja kuiba, kuharibu na kuua, lakini Yesu alikuja uzima. Uzima tele wa milele. Mulika mwizi, mulika mwizi, mulika mwizi, naye atatoroka. Alikuja kuiba, yeye ni mwizi na kuua, lakini Yesu alikuja tupate uzima tele wa milele. Mulika mwizi. Kama Adam na Eve wangelikuwa wa Chinese, hatungekuwa na hii mwadhara ya dhambi. Maana badala ya kukula lile tunda ambalo walikatazwa, wangekula nyoka, alafu shetani angekuwa ameishia. Lakini sasa mwadhara ilishatupata. Tutasoma tu James chapter 4 verse 7, resist the devil and he will flee away from you. Mulika mwizi, kataa shetani. Mulika mwizi, kataa fitina.
I'm a man of multiple identities.
Yeah.
And I celebrate each one of them. Now, I know that, all I know is that I'm a leader. So I'm a leader, but then the question is, what are the tools available to me to demonstrate and influence, therefore provide the leadership? What tools are available to me? That's how I would frame it. So if you ask me to put it to one, I would then say I'm a leader.
Yeah.
And then I would then say that I either am or I am working towards being a leader. I am a leader in certain spheres, like music. I am a leader in spheres such as politics.
Mm-hmm.
I am a leader in business. And then there are other aspects. I'm a leader in the spiritual circles.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other aspects that I'm still putting my craft together.
Yeah.
Hoping that I can, wield enough capacity to get to that place of calling myself a leader in that particular, like in farming, agri-business.
Yeah.
I am also venturing into the medicinal space, particularly herbal medicine, and it is something many people don't know. Even you don't know that.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. I get you. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. In fact, I have some contacts that I can share with you. I don't know if they might be of help. They are guys from this side. Actually, there are 2 episodes on my podcast on life signatures. There are 2 episodes that I talk to guys who are in that niche of herbal medicine or functional medicine, as one of them called it. I'll share with you.
Okay, I'll be happy to increase my networks. Your network is your network.
Yeah.
So I'll be happy. I'll be happy to share information and learn at the same time. So I consider myself to be a leader, but I wanted to make fun of that as I defined for you.
Yeah.
There is a story told in the Bible. You must have read about it, about a man who was going on a journey and he needed to, leave his talents with, his workers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talent in this case was like money or treasure.
Mm-hmm.
So to one he gave 1 talent.
Yeah.
To another he gave 2.
Yeah.
To another he gave how many?
Was it 3 or 5? I can't remember.
It was 5. Okay. So when he came back, there is a guy who had been given 1.
Yeah.
And this one did not do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the master said, you should have given my talent to the money lenders. It would have grown interest.
Yeah.
And the instruction was, take it away from him, the 1 talent, and give it to the one who had 5.
The one who multiplied it.
So there's a guy who was given 1 talent, another was given 2, another was given 5. Summary is, the one who was given 1 talent did not work it out. And when the owner came back, he said, you should have given my money to the money lenders. It would have come back to me with profit.
Yeah.
But my message is that that single talent was taken from him and given to the one who had 5 talents.
Yeah.
So it means the one who had 5 talents had his 5 talent plus what he had doubled plus what he was given from the guy with 1 talent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I consider myself to be the guy who was blessed by God with 5 talents.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you'll find me as a spiritual leader. You'll find me as a businessman. You will find me as a political leader. You'll find me as a musician and a leader in the craft. And, I'm also a family man and all those. And I believe that I am not yet done with the much I can do. That over time, there is a guy who has hid his talent and is not putting it to use. And that talent will also be added to me along the way. So you haven't seen the last of me.
Let me ask you this question, even to the benefit of men who are listening. What does it take to be the man with 5 talents and get more to multiply it and get to receive? What does it take? Because I see you are not 40, if I get my facts correct, but you have a lot going on.
Around there, I'm already 40. I'm actually 42.
Okay. That's a young age.
I'm 42. Yeah, that's young.
Yeah, but you have so much going. By the time you are releasing some of your songs that were hit songs, you were in your 30s, maybe your 20s, I can't remember. What does it take for this kind of a guy who has 5 talents? You put yourself to such a situation that you can be given 5 talents, because we are told that they were given each according to their capacities. What does it take to be the man who can receive 5 talents, multiply it, and pick the talent of the guy who is lazing on it?
I think Jesus had the answer to that. He said that those who are faithful with small matters shall be entrusted with more. So that answers the question of being added, the other one.
Yeah.
So if you are faithful with the little that you have, then you qualify for that particular bonus. So let me address what it means to be faithful.
Yeah.
So to be faithful with what has been bestowed around you actually means that doing the best and your very best with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And doing your very best actually means that you need to bring on board a little bit of discipline.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the spirit of learning. But above all, I would say that you need to expose yourself to an environment which enables you to grow.
Whoa.
I think that is the bottom line. That is the bigger point here.
Yeah.
That you need to be able to expose yourself to an environment that allows you to grow, to become a better person, an environment that allows you to see your loopholes, an environment that makes you see both what you can achieve some more and what you thought you knew all along and you probably knew nothing of.
Mm-hmm.
So surround yourself with people who are more learned than you, if possible.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who are in industry doing bigger things than you do, so that they are able to challenge you, they are able to inspire you, they are able to teach you lessons that your contemporaries will not teach you.
Yeah.
They are able to tell you things that make you introspect before you sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Surround yourself with people who can teach you something, because the moment you continue learning, first of all, you become younger.
Mm-hmm.
It is a proven phenomenon that people who are studious, people who are always studying, actually live longer. And when you expand the capacity of your brain through learning, you acquire competences that were otherwise dormant in you, and that is what makes it possible for you to be able to pick the other skills. So let me break that down for you in a simple manner. That when you open up your mind to learn a skill,
Mm-hmm.
when you open up your spirit to be taught something that you did not know, along the way, you then acquire the desire to learn. You acquire a studious mind. You acquire a desire to know more, a desire to know better, a desire to be more efficient, a desire to be more productive. So you learn to produce more with less resources. You learn to produce more whereby you use less resources for a high impact, like low investment, high impact. So when you are able to do less but have a much bigger impact, people who do so much for less or for equal will look at you and wonder, how does that guy do that? But then you will realize they put in just enough effort like you put in your effort, as in we probably use the same amount of money, same amount of time, same amount of energy, but then you will achieve more and somebody else will achieve less. Why? Because in the process of learning, you acquire certain muscle, you acquire certain wisdom, you acquire certain techniques of doing the same thing with less, or using the same energy for more.
I hear you.
Efficiency comes in. So
I hear
for
you.
me, the bottom line, if I should answer your question straight first, is to say learning, the spirit of learning, the ability to learn.
Okay.
The more you learn, the more effective you become.
Okay.
The more you learn, the more efficient you become.
Okay.
The more you learn a variety of ways to go about a matter. The more you learn the channels available to you to pursue a goal, the more you learn that you can actually achieve the same goal while sitting in your living room, as opposed to having to run 12 kilometers for the same result.
I hear you. Speaking of which, speaking of learning and all these things, and speaking of the fact that you are also in the spiritual circles, there is this thing about romance and men who are spiritual. I've seen you, by the way, very many times making comments and answering questions on a particular guy who is answering post-relationship conundrums. And I've seen some of your informed feedbacks. It's quite informative. But let's address this even as we are starting to wind up this episode. The guys who are in the spiritual arenas and romance, you hear very many complaints that the guys who are spiritual are not romantic. And you're talking about learning and all these things. Where is the place for romance in Christianity and in religion? And how does a guy go about this?
Okay, my response might turn a little funny, but let me just say it anyway. I will put it that romance was part of God's order from the very beginning. And that means that it is part of the package. The reason why spiritual people are quote unquote called unromantic or poor in matters of romance, it is because the Christian faith has taught us in a very poor way. The application was poor, the script was written poorly, and the teaching was very poor, to such an extent that the moment you find yourself in that romantic environment, you find yourself going through a conflict of attitude, conflict of perspective, conflict of your faith, and all those. So let me just put it very simple. You will be surprised that a lot of women who are married to fellows around church circles, before they got married to them, they used to celebrate them. They used to celebrate them and say, these guys are conservative. These guys, they don't go out a lot. They don't mess with their eyes around. They don't flirt. They don't. My estimation has been done poorly. So, for example, rather than teaching people how to relate, rather than helping people to appreciate their sexuality, first of all, to embrace who they are as men, as people are growing. Okay, so I was saying that before women get married, there is an image of a man that they were taught to adore.
Yeah.
So the teachings were framed according to me, the teachings were framed in a lame manner, to such an extent that one, they were told that this man who is conservative is the best way to go. The man who doesn't go out is the best way to go. The man who doesn't flirt is the way to go. The man who doesn't have an eye for beauty is the way to go. So unfortunately, when you get married and then you start realizing that you need admiration, you want to feel that your man still finds you attractive and you want him to say something nice. Technically, you want him to flirt. That is the truth. And he can't flirt. But now, why is that a problem yet before that is what you expected of him? You didn't want a man who has an eye for beauty, so you go to the salon and you come back home, you have done your hair nicely and you bought, like the best dress you could possibly put your hands on, and this man says nothing and everybody at the office is telling you how wow you look, and you get frustrated for that. Why? Because the teaching at the preliminary stage was done upside down. The teaching of Christianity was actually skewed to instill fear over romance. So rather than teaching the adolescents about their sexuality, how to celebrate their sexuality, embrace their sexuality, and know what it means, only to know that there is a time for this, then there is a time for that.
Yeah.
There's a time for just having friends, then there is a time for dating, and then there is a time for courtship, which now calls for commitment. It is an engagement, and then there is a time for marriage, and then explaining to the boys and girls that every stage has its expectations and we need to embrace all of them. We have men who move from the incubation straight into marriage. So they never had an opportunity to experience what a boy-girl relationship is. Why? Because it was painted in bad light. It was preached like it is the worst thing for you to even say hi to a lady. It is the worst thing to sit next to one. It is the worst thing to, maybe give a peck or give a hug to one, and that kind of stuff. And if you get into marriage, you can't handle that. That is the reason why we would then say that they are being unromantic and this and that and this and that, and the list goes on and on. So then the question would be, what should we do
exactly
to the boy child?
Yeah.
What we should do to the boy child, number one, we need from the household to affirm the boy child, to teach him but also celebrate who he is. Tell him that you don't have to be number one in class. Maybe your father was not number one in class, but today they make us believe they were number one even when they were not. We need to teach our children that your best is good enough.
Yeah.
We then need to socialize them. We need to allow brothers and sisters, to argue, and don't always be quick to intervene in their arguments. Allow them to argue and settle their dispute. It is only when it is getting overboard that you tell them this is not right and that kind of a thing. Allow conversation to happen. Do not allow your children to shut up the other. Allow them to express each other and tell them, hey, so and so is talking. Allow her to talk. Allow him to talk, and that kind of a thing, whether they are firstborns, they are middle, or they are lastborns. Now, the boy child should also be mentored and be talked to, and be trained on
and coached
how to celebrate their masculinity, how not to apologize for being who they are. And when I say not to apologize, I'm not saying the verbal apology, but don't be sorry for who you are. Embrace who you are. Know what your personality is. Your personality may be, you may be a sanguine, you may be a choleric, whatever it is. Some people may not like that particular personality, but don't think you are a bad guy. Find out what is good about your personality, celebrate it, embrace it. Also find out the weaknesses of that particular personality and be conscious about it when you are engaging with other people, because sometimes people find themselves find you unpleasant, yet it is just a trait of what your personality actually is, but because you know little about that. On matters romance, we need to know what we call love language. It is a topic that many people have not embraced. There are people whose love language is affirmation. That is to mean and then there are two sides of the coin. For example, the fellows who have discussed at professional level, even the books that have been given, they write about receiving. So when we say somebody's love language is gift, they mean somebody's love language is receiving gift.
Yeah.
When they say somebody's love language is affirmation, it means that that person values to be affirmed and to be told nice words.
Yeah.
When they say somebody's love language is acts of service, it means that that person appreciates when ukimfanyia vitu, you can go shopping for
Yeah.
them, you can maybe even clean up for them, you can do a service and something for them in their name. Now, it is my submission, my thinking, and my writing, and I'll be doing those dissertations with time, that love language is two-faced. So what that means is that I may value attention. I may value my partner to just be there, listen to me, and I just feel like I am with them. And it is because that is what I want.
Right.
Whereas when I'm expressing myself to somebody else, when I give you a gift, it means a lot to me. Or when I do ABCD to you, it means a lot to me.
Whoa.
So what people give is not necessarily what they value to receive. And we are wired that way. So if somebody, there are people who may love to, let me just give you an example. So there may be a man, okay? So a man might love a woman who has, like a nice rear view, and wants to touch it, maybe even pat it, slap it a little bit. And so they value physical touch. Why? Because they want to touch the woman. Now, if that woman does not understand that this man values that physical touch, they will say, this guy is objectifying me.
Whoa. I get the point. You see, what I'm hearing you say is that the giving part ministers as much as the receiving, isn't it? For example, let's say my lover's love language is not receiving gifts, but I can't help but buy gifts for them. Yes.
It energizes you.
Right. That's what you're saying?
Yes. So you need to give so as to validate yourself by yourself. But again, she needs to know what she needs to do for you.
I hear you.
And on the flip side of it, you also need to know
what I need to do for her.
Does that is good to her. And what she would like to receive.
So it's like
giving of physical touch, and I'm closing with that. Is that a man may appreciate to want to throw his hands around the woman. But it should not be very surprising to you to find that putting your hands around that man does not necessarily mean that is what gets him. His satisfaction is in him touching you.
Whoa.
So you may easily read and say, because this guy likes to touch me, when I touch him back, I'm done with him. The satisfaction may not be in your touch, but in his touching of you.
That's deep. I think you
need to understand whether what feeds him, whether when he touches, it is what he gives. And then you also need to find out what does he value the most in terms of receiving. And it's just along the love language as we know it.
My goodness, that's a good drama. That's a good revelation right there, because love languages have been taught to be two-way. In information technology, there's what they call synchronous, asynchronous, and all that stuff. For example, walkie-talkie. You know walkie-talkie? It's one way. I say hello, it goes to you. You receive, you say hello over, something like that. That's how love languages have been preached of late. But it is not that way. When I hear you speaking, I hear you that it's two-way, and it can actually be four-way. Awesome, my friend. Final question, even as we come to a close of this. Do you have like a band of men that you guys, you come together and you just talk manhood challenges, manhood issues, and stuff like that?
I have friends who are my contemporaries. That I, as an individual, take initiative and interest
Mm.
to have personal conversations around these issues. So I am at the stage of customized discussion and engagement. And there was a reason for that. I needed to prove my theories right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a passion and you start throwing information out there, and some people may believe you so much, either because you are an authority figure, you're a spiritual leader, or people just look up to you for reason A, B, C, D, and whatever you say goes. So you may say something and people go with it, and probably you are deeply wrong.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is that is in the making. So basically, I have said that I have been having these conversations with my friends. I've been having conversations with my peers, both men and also in the family setting, because I also realized that just being able to understand what is happening across board is still good for everybody. But narrowing down to manhood here, I said that I look forward to now have platforms where we can have engagements and discussions with a broader network of people, with a broader audience. I won't mind, also extracting some goodwill from you to, share part of this information, including on your platform, whenever you invite me. But it's in the making to take this information to a broader spectrum of people. I had to keep it at pilot level, at customized personal level, because I also needed to confirm the theories that I'm advancing. I needed to proofread the things that I thought were necessary to be said, the information that I thought was important to be passed out to people. I also had to compare with professionals in various, learning spaces, and I feel I'm now good to do that. It will come with time.
You feel there's a need for this, especially for the men?
The need is 1,000%. 1,000%. The need is 1,000%. I have realized that a lot of people would love to enjoy the quality of their lives. But they are limited not because their spouses are doing anything to limit them. They are limited not because they are limiting themselves, but because they don't have the capacity to unstuck themselves. And that's why if you read my Facebook profile, I present myself as a theracoach. Now, a theracoach means a therapist who is a coach. A coach
works with functional people.
Exactly. But so a coach would try to understand your goals and help you to get there. But while you are trying to get there, there are certain bottlenecks and stumbling blocks that may stand in your way, which will keep affecting your habits, will keep affecting your ability to stay focused and your ability to be able to get to the target. And only a therapist will then be able to help you by looking backwards and asking themselves, why are you stuck? Why is your behavioral pattern failing? Why is it that you cannot pull through with this? Why is your family life struggling? Why is your love life struggling? Why is your career life struggling? Why are you struggling with your personality, with your identity, and those kind of things? Now, only a therapist can be able to take care of those bottlenecks, and then you go back to tarmac with the coach to continue pursuing your goals. So I'm fashioning myself as a theracoach, and I believe that I'm properly equipped for these, both academically and generally the experiences that God has enabled me to have, the research that I've been able to do around my peers, and the discussions we've been able to do at family level. I've been able to help so many families at family level, but first of all dealing with the individual issues, and then now bringing it at family level. I've helped families to understand where they are coming from, why they have struggled with this, and how they can go past that particular bridge and to experience a good quality of life. So the need is 1,000%.
Wow. So thank you so much for that. And we're actually looking forward to you joining the fray in this quest to help men to have quality life in their workplaces, because I know you are also passionate about work and productivity, quality life in their relationships and in their families, even as you've just shared. I have just enjoyed your conversation today.
Even in the place, and even being quality parents to raise the next generation.
Yes, that's a very big time issue that I know later on we can even have just a conversation about parenting alone, comparing parenting that has been and parenting that is and parenting that will be needed in the raising of the future generations. It's different, like you said earlier on, totally different right now as compared to how we were raised up.
True.
So my brother.
Thank you, my brother.
We come to the close of this episode today, and one request is that you're going to share with us your songs so that we can include them in this episode.
Okay, that's fine. So currently I go by Mr. Leopard Ingwe. So many people know me as Ingwe.
Yeah.
Which is okay, but I've rebranded to Mr. Leopard Ingwe currently. Mm-hmm. But if you're checking out for my songs, check out for songs like Ugali Sosa.
Yeah.
Wrong Number.
Yeah.
BodaBoda is a family song. BodaBoda Yangu.
Mm-hmm.
Have some Luya vibes like Yesu Wanje.
Yeah.
They're available on YouTube. So it's just the names I've said by Ingwe.
Okay. We're going to get some of them and include them in this episode today.
Thank you.
Okay, brother, God bless you and keep working at it. And I'm sure that even as days goes by, we will be able to meet physically. And even as you talked about platform, that's a very powerful word used earlier on. Even as we build platforms, we'll be able to help our men and we'll be able to help ourselves. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, bless. Bye.
Nawe mzee ukishaoa mpango wa kando wachana nayo, kuwa dadi siyo sugar daddy, peleka mama pole pole nyumbani, kama wako hajangara basi wewe ndiyo mchoyo, mpe pesa mpe mapenzi yatangara kama wengine, kama wewe haumjali basi haumuheshimu Mungu, mpende nyumbani ukimuona maana humwoni Mungu. Boda yangu wawili mimi na mke wangu, kumpenda siku zote ndiyo mapenzi ya Mungu. Piki yangu wawili mimi na mume wangu, kumheshimu siku zote sheria za boda. Nawe mama jikaze, urembo ni ule wa ndani hata ule wa nje, muoneshe yote mzee, hata supporting documents zote ni zake mpatie, muheshimu Mungu naye atatunza ndoa yako, wapende watoto wako wote, mpende mzee wako vile naye atakupenda, sifa zimurudie Mungu. Boda yangu wawili mimi na mke wangu, kumpenda siku zote ndiyo mapenzi ya Mungu. Piki yangu wawili mimi na mume wangu, kumheshimu siku zote sheria za boda yangu wawili mimi na mke wangu, kumpenda siku zote ndiyo mapenzi ya Mungu. Piki yangu wawili mimi na mume wangu, kumheshimu siku zote sheria za boda. Boda yangu wawili mimi na mke wangu, kumpenda siku zote ndiyo mapenzi ya Mungu. Piki yangu wawili mimi na mume wangu, kumheshimu siku zote sheria za boda yangu wawili mimi na mke wangu, kumpenda siku zote ndiyo mapenzi ya Mungu. Piki yangu wawili mimi na mume wangu, kumheshimu siku zote sheria za boda.